Good morning. My name is Casey Brady, Voting Systems Analyst for the Department of State's Bureau of Elections. Joining me is Brandon McCullough, Elections Analyst for the Bureau of Elections. Today is Monday, December 1st, 2025, and the current time is 10 a.m. On behalf of the Secretary of the Commonwealth, I would like to welcome all of you to the examination of the Hart InterCivic Verity Vanguard 1.0 electronic voting system and take this opportunity to explain the guidelines that we will be following. First, it should be noted that the Secretary of the Commonwealth is holding this examination pursuant to the provisions of Section 1105A of the Pennsylvania Election Code, 25 Pennsylvania Statute, Section 3031-5A. Second, the examinations of voting systems are not subject to the requirements of the Sunshine Act. Nevertheless, the Department has determined that it is appropriate to invite the public to observe portions of the examinations. Third, this examination will be conducted pursuant to the Pennsylvania Election Code. The Department has entered a contract with ProV&V to perform the examination. Jack Cobb of ProV&V Inc. will lead the examination for ProV&V. Following receipt of ProV&V's findings, the Secretary will issue a report that shall be filed with the Bureau of Elections. Fourth, the public demonstration portion of the examination will be memorialized on video, which shall be the official record of the proceedings. Because the video will constitute the record, it is essential that the camera be always afforded the best view of the screen. This may make it difficult for members of the public to clearly see what is occurring at that time. Your presence is welcomed primarily as an opportunity to observe the nature of the process as a whole. Copies of the public demonstration video recording will be available for public viewing. We do not permit anyone else to record the examination proceedings. Fifth, we will not permit spoken questions or comments from our guests. In order to capture an accurate record of the proceedings, it is imperative that all members of the public follow these guidelines. Persons failing to conform to these conditions will be asked to leave the room. Please turn all cell phones to silent mode during this examination. Thank you for your cooperation. After the public demonstration, we will be moving on to test cases that the examiner will execute to confirm the system meets the election code requirements. The public can stay as observers for that part of the examination. There may be occasions where proprietary information must be shared by the vendor with the department and the examiner. If that occurs, all members of the public will be excused from the room. After the proprietary information has been shared, everyone will be invited to return to the room. We will now move on to the public demonstration from the vendor. Here to present the public demonstration is Tyson Gosh from Hart InterCivic.
My name is Tyson Gosh. I am a Senior Project Manager for Hart InterCivic. I'm going to give you a little demonstration of our voting system, Verity Vanguard 1.0. So what you see here is we've got some workstations. These would be your back office workstations. This workstation here we call our Vanguard Define Deploy Results workstation. That's the software that's on here. What you see here is our Vanguard workspace. It's just kind of our home screen. On this workstation, you are going to be creating your ballots. Basically, your election is going to be created here. Your ballots, all the information that's going to be on the ballot is going to be created. It'll have the ability to print to the attached printer if necessary. Otherwise, it can be ballots can be exported as PDF and sent to a third-party printer. But all that is done on this workstation. Later on, at the end of the election, results are also generated on this workstation. Moving over to the next workstation, this is called our Capture workstation. It is attached to a high-speed scanner. So any mail ballots that come in will be scanned through the high-speed scanner in batches. And then those cast vote records are captured here on a V drive and then moved over back to this workstation where results are then generated. Okay, so I'll move over now to the actual voting devices that you'll see in the polling place. So the first device we have here, this is a poll worker facing device. This is called Vanguard Boost. So it's got a menu here of options for a poll worker. So a voter is going to come in, get checked in through the poll book system, go through that process and procedures that are required there. They'll get to this station here. The poll worker will tap Issue a Ballot, and they'll just kind of work through the menus here, selecting the appropriate options. It has two ways to generate a ballot. One is to print to the attached printer. It will print a ballot that a voter then gets to go and sit and mark their ballot in preparation for scanning. The other option is to print a vote pass, and I'll go through both options, and that's for use on our ballot marking devices. So I'll go first with the paper ballot option. So I'll choose paper ballots. You can choose your language if that's appropriate, confirm everything, and then it will print ballots. I've got some pre-printed ballots here as well that I can show you. So once this is printed, the voter will receive the ballot and go to a station to mark their ballots. Let's also move over to the vault device. This is the precinct scanner. So once a voter has marked their ballot, I've got some marks on here. They'll just simply insert the ballot. The scanner will take it and it drops it into the secure ballot box. If there was any issues on that ballot, say an overvote, then it will let the voter know that there was an overvote. It'll let you know where that overvote occurred. Actually, I have an example of that. I'll just go ahead and throw one in here with that, just so you can see how the system treats an overvote. So it says one issue needs review. Too many choices are marked, and it says the exact contest that needs to be taken care of. So the voter has an option there to pull their ballot and go through the procedures to spoil that ballot or whatever they need to do to correct that mistake. If they really don't want to correct it, they can cast it as is. They just take it and it's ready for the next voter at this point. Anytime you have the green landing lights here, it is ready for a ballot. Moving back over here, I will show you the other option. So a county that may have ballot marking devices for that everyone uses instead of hand-marked paper, they'll just issue, instead of a paper ballot, issue a vote pass. We'll go through that process. It's much the same as we just did, except instead of choosing paper ballot, you will choose vote pass. It reminds the poll worker to give the voter a sheet of blank thermal paper, and then gives instructions on inserting a blank vote pass. This is a vote pass ticket. So in a polling place situation, the voter would be standing kind of on the other side of this table facing the poll worker. This is designed so that the voter can just take their ticket from the back of the printer there, and now they are ready to go to a booth where they will use the ballot marking device to vote. So I'll go ahead and do that. They've got their vote pass. There are instructions on the screen with exactly what to do with this vote pass. So I'm going to go ahead and insert my vote pass. It's going to read that. It's going to bring up the correct ballot style based on what the poll worker chose over here. Again, instructions at every step of the way. Remove the ticket. The ticket can't be reused. That QR code on the ticket here has been marked through, so you can't reuse this ticket once it's been inserted. Next, there's instructions on how to insert the paper on the screen, and there's also lights indicating where to insert the paper as well. And then there's some instructions on the screen here. People can go in through a tutorial on how to use this ballot, view the contests on the ballot, or they can go into begin voting. There's also options at the top of the screen for changing the language. And you can do that at any time in the middle of the ballot or at the beginning. There's options for changing the text size. If you're using audio, the volume, the speed, the contrast of the screen, different options there for accessible voting. So I'm going to go ahead and tap Begin Voting. Okay, and then it's just going to take us through each screen, which is our contest. So I'm just going to make some selections here. It allows you to undervote. So if I want to skip a contest, I can just hit skip and not make a selection. It will not allow me to overvote. So I've made a selection there. If I want to make another selection, it just moves my selection to that next option. Okay. When you get to the end of your ballot, you have a review screen. This is going to show all of the contests on the for this election and the choices that the voter made. So they can review these and make sure that what is listed here is what they intended to do. If there's anything they want to go back and change, they can do that at this point. There's several that I skipped that says I made no choices. If they didn't mean to skip that, they can go back just by tapping on that contest on the review screen and make a choice there and jump straight back to the review screen to continue their review. Once they've reviewed their choices and they've decided that this is the way they intended to vote, they can tap print. And then the paper that was inserted at the beginning of the voting session will come back out with the voters' selections. So and this is what we call a summary ballot. It does not look like your traditional hand-marked ballot. It's got your contests listed here and then the voter selections. So the voter has another chance here to look to verify that the choices that they're seeing printed on the paper are the choices they intended to make. Their vote is not cast yet until they put it into the scanner. If they see something at this point that is incorrect or that they didn't intend to do, they can follow the procedures to get this ballot spoiled and start the voting session over again. Assuming that everything is correct, they would just walk over to the precinct scanner as we did before and insert this into the scanner. And it will accept the ballot and drop it into the secure ballot box. If a voter needs accessible options, we do have the ATI that is can be connected to these. You've got a select button, a help button, and a move wheel, along with Braille on here that gives instructions to voters that need that. They can move through the ballot. There's headphones that are available for a voter to listen to the ballot being read and all their selections as well. If necessary, it has the ability to have a sip and puff or jelly switches connected as well, depending on the voter's needs. And that is the Verity Vanguard Voting System 1.0.
Good morning. My name is Casey Brady, Voting Systems Analyst for the Department of State's Bureau of Elections. Joining me is Sindhu Ramachandran, Election Technology Strategist for the Bureau of Elections, and Brandon McCullough, Elections Analyst for the Bureau of Elections. Today is Tuesday, March 31st, 2026, and the current time is 9:30. On behalf of the Secretary of the Commonwealth, I would like to welcome all of you to this supplemental examination of the Hart InterCivic Verity Vanguard 1.0 electronic voting system and take this opportunity to explain the guidelines that we will be following. This examination will be focused on the hands-free component of Hart's Verity Vanguard 1.0 system, the Vanguard Adapt, and findings from this supplemental examination will be included with the original findings for Vanguard 1.0. First, it should be noted that the Secretary of the Commonwealth is holding this examination pursuant to the provisions of Section 1105AA of the Pennsylvania Election Code, 25 Pennsylvania Statutes 3031-5A. Second, the examinations of voting systems are not subject to the requirements of the Sunshine Act. Nevertheless, the Department has determined that it is appropriate to invite the public to observe portions of examinations. Third, this examination will be conducted pursuant to the Pennsylvania Election Code. The Department has entered into a contract with ProV&V to perform the examination. Jack Cobb of ProV&V, Inc. will lead the examination for ProV&V. Following receipt of ProV&V's findings, the Secretary will issue a report that shall be filed in the Bureau of Elections. Fourth, The public demonstration portion of the examination will be memorialized on video, which shall be the official record of the proceedings. Because the video will constitute the record, it is essential that the camera be always accorded the best view of the screen. This may make it difficult for members of the public to see clearly what is occurring at that time. Your presence is welcomed primarily as an opportunity to observe the nature of the process as a whole. Copies of the public demonstration video recording will be available for public viewing. We do not permit anyone else to record the examination proceedings. Fifth, we will not permit spoken questions or comments from our guests. In order to capture an accurate record of the proceedings, it is imperative that all members of the public follow these guidelines. Persons failing to conform to these conditions will be asked to leave the room. Please turn all cell phones to silent during this examination. Thank you for your cooperation. After the public demonstration, we will be moving on to test cases that the examiner will execute to confirm that the system meets Pennsylvania's election code requirements. The public can stay as observers for that part of the examination. There may be occasions where proprietary information must be shared by the vendor with the department and the examiner. If that occurs, all members of the public will be excused from the room. After the proprietary information has been shared, everyone will be invited to return to the room. We will now move on to the public demonstration from the vendor. Here to present the public demonstration is Tyson Gosh from Hart InterCivic.
This is Vanguard Adapt. This is a ballot marking device that allows a voter to mark, review, and cast their ballot all without touching the sheet of paper. So I'm going to go through the process of activating the ballot as a poll worker, go through the ballot itself, show some of the accessibility settings that we offer, and then cast our ballot. So first I'm going to go ahead and activate the ballot as the poll worker would do. I'll choose my precinct. This workflow is very similar to what we've seen with Vanguard Flex. Okay, so at this point, the ballot is activated and ready for the voter to take over. The voter has some instructions here. Touch here to get started, so they can use the touchscreen. They can use any of these accessibility settings here, including our ATI with the move wheel and select button and help button, as well as the tactile interface switches here. So I'll go ahead and use the touchscreen to begin. It asks me if I want to change any of the settings. We'll go ahead and show you the changing of the settings once we get into the ballot. So I'm going to go ahead and skip straight to voting. So it's just showing the voter what the precinct is, that they've got everything correct here on the screen. I'm going to say begin voting. Okay, now we're in the ballot. I can make selections on the touchscreen, as I said before. Click next. I can use our ATI to scroll through and make selections this way. If in the middle of the ballot I decide I want to change any of the accessibility settings at the top, I can change contrast, text size. I can turn the screen off if I'm going to use the audio ballot. We do have a set of headphones available so that the ballot can be read to the voter. And I can reset all the screen settings back to the defaults. So I'll go ahead and just change one of the settings here from full color to, let's say, high contrast white, just so you can see that. We'll tap return to ballot. So everything's now changed to high contrast white. You can do high contrast black or back to the full color. So I'm just going to go through the ballot, make my selections. Okay, when I get to the end, there's a review screen for me to review my choices. If there's anything I want to change, I can just select that contest, and it takes me right back to that contest. I can make a change. It shows me where I made no marks. So if there was something I skipped, it tells me that. If I'd made a mistake there, I can go back and make that selection. If everything looks good, I can tap the print button. It's telling me that I cannot make any changes after I do this. Do I want to do this? Yes, I want to print my ballot. So the ballot's going to print. It's going to run it through a scanner, and the ballot's going to come down in front of the voter. Okay. So the ballot can physically see what's printed on the paper. They can also see an electronic version of what's on the paper. So the scanner scanned that ballot, and how it interpreted the text on the ballot is showing down here. So they can see exactly how their ballot was scanned. So they can compare these two, and they can just scroll through the contests here. They can't make any changes at this point, but they can review what they've done. If they see a mistake, they can contact a poll worker to spoil this ballot, and they can go through that process and start over. If everything looks good, they can go ahead and cast the ballot, and the ballot is deposited into the secure ballot box, and the voting session is complete at that point.